Hello there, don't be afraid, it's Pro Trainer 7 here today. I'm here today with my top 12 Star Wars games so far. My main reason for 12 games instead of the usual 10, which is normally what you see, is I think, why the hell not be different? I want to be different. I've loved Star Wars games since the N64 days, along with the films apart from the sequel trilogy, which is a major mess up on Disney's part. My opinion. Not a popular one, but it's my opinion. But I'm a console gaming channel, so better crack on. I will not be including LEGO Star Wars games in this video, because they aren't true Star Wars. FYI, this is 100% my opinion, so please be civil in the comment section. Thank you very much. So without further ado, let's get into it. So let's start with number 12, Star Wars Battlefront 2, EA. Well, let's talk about this title. It's on here because EA realised that us, the Star Wars fans, weren't going to stand by and take crap from a major corporation like EA. But I'll be frank, this is on here because of its versatility. You can play as a stormtrooper or a clone trooper in any of the 3 ages from all 9 movies. Let's not forget about the single player campaign, following the story of Iden Versio, an Imperial captain who leaves the Empire to join the Rebel Alliance after she learns about the horrors about the Galactic Empire and what they have done. All that aside though, you would have thought that a huge publisher like EA would have improved this game from the originals, because they kind of own, well, they used to own Pandemic, but Pandemic was taken over but dissolved by EA some time ago. And you would have thought that they would have improved the formula of the originals, but they kind of didn't. So that's why it's like number 12. But it made it onto the top 12 anyway. Right, here we go for number 11. Star Wars The Clone Wars. Now this game is here purely for nostalgia, for my liking. This was the first Star Wars game that I bought for my GameCube back in 2003. Now I'm showing off my age, but I digress. This game was set straight after the events of Star Wars Episode 2 of Attack of the Clones. And in this game you play as some of the main characters from that film. The gameplay wasn't great, however, as you controlled the Jedi on the ground. They were clunky at best, but when you controlled the ships, they were a lot better. But this is Pandemic's first game, and you can see the inspiration and the lessons that they learned for later Battlefront games before the EA takeover. But you can tell this is a sign of things to come. Let's jump to number 10. We're in the top 10s now. And for the top 10 position, Star Wars The Force Unleashed 2. Right, we're stepping in Legends territory now with Star Wars Force Unleashed 2. This game obviously carries on from the first installment, which was released in 2008. This game was only released a year later. It was just wall-to-wall action, to be honest with you. It's absolutely brilliant in terms of gameplay, but for me, the story was rather short. In fact, for me, you could probably speedrun this game, no problem. But this is why it's on the it's number 10. Right, okay, on to number 9, Star Wars Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast. Oh, this game brings back some memories. This was my first single-player experience as a Jedi. Well, in a video game sense. But this game is not as great as some people think it is. Well, it's good, but it's the only bad side to this game is I don't think it's aged pretty well. Still playable, still good, but it's not aged as well as some of the other stuff on this list. But also, at the beginning of this game, there is a couple of tedious missions where you just use a blaster and you just fire all the way through the levels on them. They're not that brilliant, but this is why it's like number 9 on my list. But that's the only bad side about it. But when you get your lightsaber in the Yavin 4 mission, you get to use your Force abilities as well, and it acts like a tutorial, kind of. but once you get your lightsaber in later missions, you can also switch between your lightsaber, which I prefer to use, or you can use your guns and your blasters and stuff. So at least you've got a bit more versatility there. Right, now on to number 8, which is Star Wars Battlefront 2, the original one. This game was awesome back in the day. Please don't get this confused with EA's title. This game is far better in terms of gameplay as well. The only difference is the graphics is not as great, but in terms of gameplay, this is still up there with one of the best Star Wars games ever made. It's just a shame that when EA took over Pandemic, they kind of made it inferior, but dare I say, it's great in multiplayer, this game. Absolutely brilliant. Even in 2022, you can still sit on the couch with a few mates and just play. It is brilliant. I love this game to death. Let's jump to number 7, which is Star Wars Racer Revenge. This is one of the best races out there. Seriously, I adore this game. Racer Revenge is a sequel to the Episode 1 Racer, which originally was released on the N64. For those who don't know, pod racing was first introduced in Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace, where you see Anakin Skywalker try to win a race against Sebulba. But there is more to this than meets the eye. In this pod racing game, you also get to upgrade your pod racer, which becomes, in fact, it sets a precedent for future racing titles in the future, where you could upgrade your vehicle after when you win prize money. Its multiplayer is fun too, so you can race against your friends while sat on the couch. Right, now for number 6, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. This game in its day was phenomenal, absolutely brilliant. In fact, this is one of the first 2 games I bought with my Xbox back in 2003. This was the first ever RPG Star Wars game, and it was developed by BioWare. The battling system in KOTOR is very similar to Pokemon Legends Arceus, what it is today, but you do it with your own character, basically, and you select your attacks, what you do, like either you use a parry or use a grenade, or if you've got a blaster, use blasters, things like that. But I do tend to think that this system is outdated for a game such as Knights of the Old Republic, and I hope in the remake it seems to be a lot more fluid. But that's not where this game really shines. This is one of the first games of its genre, the RPG series, where you get to choose your own destiny. In Star Wars, I don't know if you're familiar with this, you either turn to the light side or turn to the dark side, which I think is a very, very good idea for this game. And this is one of its major selling points for this title back in the day. And I think they can do a lot more with that in the new remake. I'm going about the remake too much now. But as you turn to the light side, you get more abilities like heal and stuff like that. Whereas if you turn into the dark side, you gain things like Force Lightning, Force Crush and Force Drain, which also adds to the gameplay and also the future scenario and where this game ends. Right, okay, here we go. We're in my top 5 now. And the top 5 spot goes to Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Academy. This game was a title that I bought with my Xbox alongside Knights of the Old Republic. I must admit, I still play this game to this day. It is awesome. The graphics aren't aged very well, but that's what this game's not about. Jedi Academy is a direct sequel to Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Outcast. This game was released in 2003 for the Xbox and PC. I must admit, this is probably one of the finest games I've played in that generation. I love Knights of the Old Republic, but it just didn't seem to be as actiony as Jedi Academy. Right, what makes this game so brilliant in my eyes? Well, it's in my top 5 list, so it's pretty decent. Right, okay, here we go. You get to choose your own colour of your lightsaber. I always go blue anyway, because consider myself more wielding a blue blade. Also, you get to still use your first person shooting weapons like blasters and stuff. And not only that, you get to choose which force powers you increase, where in Jedi Outcast, you kind of get given to you from level to level. I think this adds a bit of a personal touch to your gaming character. But that's not the only thing. You can also have a custom lightsaber which you get later on. You start with your own, but you get to still use singular lightsaber, or the dual blade lightsaber, or you can use 2 lightsabers. I prefer to use just the one because you find more accuracy in your hits, whereas the use 2 lightsabers, I think that's the worst one out of the lot. But also later on in the game, following suit from the prequel era, which these games were released in, you get to either stick on the side of the Jedi or turn to the dark side. It doesn't really affect your story that much, but it makes the last level in Korriban a lot harder. But I think this is why it deserves the 5th spot in my Star Wars list. Right, let's move on to number 4, which is Star Wars Squadrons. Right, there's one thing I need to let you guys know. I do honestly think that Star Wars Squadrons deserves the top 4 spot, because it is probably one of the best flying Star Wars games I've ever played. I know it's done by EA, but it is a modern day Rogue Squadron. Right, I'll best let you know what makes this game so good. I think the storyline seems to be fitting for the, before the sequel trilogy, which, the Disney films are based on the sequel trilogy, aren't they? And it deserves a bit more praise than what it gets, actually. You can customize your own ship, you can play around with the shields and stuff, and play around with the weaponry, and you can actually make your own custom ship your own. Not only that, it looks absolutely amazing in 4K. I know graphics don't make a game, but I think Squadrons is it. But also the gameplay reveals itself a lot better as well. For example, when you have the directional buttons, because I played this one on the Xbox, the D-pad buttons, you can use them to increase your firepower, your shields, or your speed. Which in combat, if you know how to switch these up and you play these right, you can actually become very unpredictable. Like for example, because I've suited my, let's just say, my A-wing up, and I made it bulky, but I can also make it quite offensive in terms of firepower, because of what blasters you fit on it as well. And if you add all these things together, you can get a really decent, in-depth, strategic thinking about using your fighter. And also, you can also customize the outside of it as well, which is nice. It's a nice little touch. And also inside your cockpit. Star Wars Squadrons does deserve respect. I know it's not massive in terms of storyline, but think of the storyline as acting as a tutorial, expanded tutorial on how to play the game. I think this game deserves a lot of respect, even though EA did publish this title. Right, here we go, top 3. Right, my 3rd installment in my list, in my top 12, will be Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. As you probably gathered, this follows the events of the movie of the same name. Its style is in the classic beat-em-up genre, but it's probably one of the best movie tie-ins I've ever played. You play it as Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi. For its day, this game was probably one of the best beat-em-ups around, as you could do multiple combos and upgrade your characters. But it stayed true to the film, which I like about video game films. One of the things I've personally enjoyed from this game, which I've played for many hours, is like with my brothers and that, is the 2-player. You play as, you can unlock players throughout the entire game as you play through the main story. And when you can in the PvP mode, you get to play as whoever you want, including Darth Vader, and you can actually react that scene from A New Hope, which I find quite cool. But that's part of it which I really enjoy. Right, in my number 2 spot is Star Wars The Force Unleashed. Right, there's one thing I can say about this game and I absolutely love, even to this day. This game is an excellent stress reliever. Not only can you hack enemies with your lightsaber, but as you progress through the game, you get to unlock your Force abilities and make them stronger. And to be fair, it does help you release some stress, especially if you had a hard day at work. With these abilities, no Stormtrooper or Jedi gets in your way. And to be honest, it is quite fun. But I need to tell you about the story. You play as Darth Vader's secret apprentice, Starkiller, who he discovers on the planet of Kashyyyk. Through the story, Darth Vader instructs you to kill the last of the remaining Jedi. But in doing so, he also instructs you to create a diversion by forming a rebel alliance to distract the Emperor. But all in all, due to the gameplay and story, I think Star Wars Force Unleashed is probably one of the best Star Wars games ever made, to be honest. That's why it deserves my number 2 spot. It's an excellent stress reliever. It is awesome to this day. And it's a shame they didn't make any more. Right, on to my final one. Right, and the game that takes the number 1 spot is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. There are many reasons why Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order got the number 1 spot in my opinion. Number 1, the gameplay is absolutely phenomenal. It just proves that you can have a decent one-player game. EA kind of fought against it at the time, but their developer Respawn proved them wrong, really. Imagine that in your own company. And number 2, the storyline was quite compelling as well, because you play as the character Cal Kestis, and you are on a mission to find this holocron, which shows the location of all the missing Jedi after the events of Order 66, because that's when it takes place, after the events of Order 66. I think it's like 10 years after or something like that. But I should delve into the gameplay of this game as well. You play as a Jedi, you upgrade yourself like you do in a lot of single player games now, but also you can also upgrade your equipment like your lightsaber as you pass through the storyline, because you start off with a broken lightsaber, which your former Jedi Master gave you at the beginning of the game, kind of, and you upgrade that as you make your way through the game, and it eventually becomes a double bladed lightsaber which you can split in half, and you can throw the back end off and you can hit your enemies with. Now that to me shows great potential, especially for future titles, and I'm looking forward to the future Star Wars Jedi game, Survivor. I would like to see what goes on with that, but anyway, I digress on this game. The gameplay for this actually complements the lightsaber very, very well in terms of deflecting blaster bolts and fighting enemies, where you got to, especially when you're fighting armed enemies like people with staffs, electro staffs and stuff, you've got to like parry, then attack. It's sort of like, I think it was simulated by sword fighting to a degree. And I honestly think that the gameplay and the physics involved in this game is brilliant. But not also that, the force abilities, which is, you just to name a few, force pull, push. It's a new one that you get to, he uses this force sense where he senses emotion through objects, which left its imprint through the force, which Cal Kestis can sense. That is awesome. And also, one of my favourite ones, he uses force freeze sort of thing, where he can freeze the enemy before they attack, and he can go in and attack them without even knowing. So it kind of like slows like down time for your opponent, but it stays normal for you, which can prove advantageous against non-force wielding opponents. But all in all, I think this game is absolutely phenomenal. I did have my reservations when I first played it, but that's because I weren't very good at it at the time. But as you get real used to the controls, it is absolutely mind-blowing. And now it's had an upgrade to the Series X and the PS5. Even the visuals are stunning. I cannot wait for Jedi Survivor. And that's why Fallen Order is in my new spot. My number 1 spot, should we say. And I thoroughly recommend this title, even though it's an EA game, and I tend to not like EA. But this is a good game. I cannot deny that. And I think that will be it for my video today. Thank you very much everyone for watching. And I'd like to see what your opinions are on Star Wars games. You know, so we can get a bit of a chat going in the comments section. Just let me know what you think. I mean, you could disagree, that's cool. We can't have the same opinion because it'll get boring, wouldn't it? So yeah, you'll let me know what you think, and we can have a good chat about it. Right, thank you very much for listening. I'll see you guys next time. See you again. Bye-bye. thank you very much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much. Bye bye.